This video is taken from the Mouth Posture Phase 1 lesson that helps you build the mouth posture of American English so that you can sound like a native. The jaw is only one small piece of all that, but it is a very important piece. So enjoy this lesson. I hope you do the exercises and make sure to check out the full lesson, which is available for free, so that you can take your pronunciation to the next level. The jaw. And as we talked about before, this is super important because if your jaw isn't open enough, nothing else really matters. So the first exercise we're going to do is to set your jaw in a more open place. And luckily, there's a relatively easy way to do this. You're going to put your hands here on the sides of your jaw where the muscle is. If you close your teeth together and you tense, right, you try to sort of bite down. Right, you see my hands moving out. That muscle is tensing. If I just have my mouth closed and I don't try to tense or bite, there's no tension there. And that would be 0% open. So then in your language, you're going to be open a little bit, right? And this should be roughly about 25% or so if your language holds the jaw more closed. So if you open just a little bit, and you're used to talking maybe from around here, okay, your jaw is a little more closed, you probably won't feel any tension here still, okay? Just because your jaw is a little more open doesn't necessarily mean we feel a lot of tension in the muscles. And especially because it's your native language, it's going to feel relaxed, right? Now here's the trick. If you open to about 50%, about halfway, okay, so we're closed, 25, 50, okay, and I'm talking from here, okay, this is nice. This is what we want for American English. It's about 50% open. The interesting thing that you'll notice is that if you don't open too much, there's still not a lot of tension here. So you can use this as a guide to say that, okay, when you start feeling more tension, you open your mouth to a certain point, right around here, and you're going to start to feel those muscles tense and push out a little. That's too far. You don't want to go that far. Once you start feeling those muscles tense, which might be around 60 to 70% open or so, then you want to pull back a little bit. You don't want to just go to the line where you don't feel the tension. You want to pull back a little tiny bit, close just a little bit more. We're going to talk about why in a second. And remember, we're talking about the flow of normal speech. If we use the fully enunciated versions of the more open sounds like ah, oh, ow, I, then what's going to happen is we will open a little more and you'll start feeling that tension. We want to focus on this normal range where there's really not any tension in here, so you can practice holding your jaw there. And then when you work in the more fully enunciated versions, you can get used to opening a little bit more. We're going to ignore the fully enunciated versions for now. We'll explore that more when we talk about the vowel masterclass, and that's phase 3. Now the test or checkpoint that you're looking for with setting the jaw is if you sound more open and clearer. That's it. We don't care about the exact sounds. Do you sound more open? Do you sound clearer? So that's how you find the right openness for your jaw. Now before we talk about the exercises to practice reinforcing that openness, there are 4 common traps, and you will probably fall into at least 3 of them as you practice. Okay, everybody that I've worked with so far has fallen into these traps or made these mistakes, we could say. The first big trap or common mistake is thinking that you're opening enough when you're not. That's why you want to open enough to start feeling the tension and then close back up a little, because it's very common that you'll just go from, say, here in your native language to here. And that's not enough. We want a little bit more than that. And one way that you can tell if you're opening enough, since you're not really going to feel the tension here, is if you start to sound a little more open and clear. Because if you try to speak like this, right, even if all your sounds are pretty good, it just doesn't sound as clear. It sounds kind of closed. But as soon as you open up a little bit more, you're going to start hearing more resonance and things are going to start coming through better. Common trap or mistake number 2 is the opposite. It's opening too much. And this is again where the feeling this tension really comes in handy, because if you start feeling that tension coming in to the sides here, you know that you're open too much. So that's a pretty easy thing to fix. The third common mistake is that you will go, let's say you open, you find that 50%, and then you start trying to speak, you start trying to do one of the exercises that we're going to talk about. Look in the mirror if you have to, because you might not feel it at first. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that maybe you start here. So the sentence, I want to go to the beach. And you say, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach. Because your brain wants to close your jaw back to where it was. As soon as you start focusing on a sentence or whatever it is, your brain is going to say, oh, I need to go back here. You want to avoid that. Something else that can happen with this mistake is, let's say you open up to 50%, you start good, and then you're trying to hold it there, but you keep going back to yours and then back to English and then back to yours and then back to English, and you end up doing this. I want to go to the beach. Okay, it's a very common thing to happen. Don't do that. We don't want that much movement. Okay, a little bit of movement is normal, but there's actually not a lot of motion from the jaw itself. The chin can move a bit, the cheeks can move a bit. It might create the illusion that the jaw is moving more. It's not moving very much in the flow of normal speech. And the last really big trap or mistake that you want to avoid is tensing the jaw to try to hold it in place. After you notice that maybe, okay, you try to open here, it's good, you start practicing and it closes up, you might consciously or not consciously, on accident, you might try to tense your jaw to hold it there at the 50% mark. But if you do that, everything starts sounding really tight and really tense, and you don't want that. Speaking of practice, how do you practice this? Let's talk about the exercise to reinforce your jaw once you find it, and you're going to want to focus on these traps that we talked about as you practice. So pay very close attention to exactly what your jaw is doing. We're using that tension as a guide to set it. Okay, we know where that is. And then you can put your hands here. My thumbs are under here, grabbing here, and this will help you see how much your hands are moving. You just want a little bit of movement, that's okay. Now, what you can also do to make sure that you're not getting too much tension, you're not opening too much or whatever, you can actually do maybe more like this. So we're going to go ahead and walk through some examples here so that you can see me. I can guide you along, but you can use any sentence you want. You can make your own sentences. It doesn't matter. And the very first thing that you're always going to do until this becomes automatic, it doesn't matter if you're on the jaw, if you're talking about something later, we're working on phase 2, phase 3, you're always going to want to go make sure your jaw is set first. That's always the first step. Now, your sounds don't have to be perfect. We don't care about the sounds right now. And one really, really great thing to do here is to slow it down, because that gives your brain more time and resources to actually feel what's going on and to be able to adjust better. So let's do this slowly. So the first sentence we're going to use is, I want to go to the beach. 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 And from there you can speed it back up. I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach. Take your time. Let's do another example. We'll start slow, and then we'll go to the fast one. Do you see that man? 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 Make sure you don't say like this. Do you see that man? Do you see that man? Or don't do this. Do you see that man? Do you see that man? Okay, pay close attention. From there, you can go on and find or create your own examples. The next exercise you're going to want to do once you start getting that basic feeling and familiarity with the simple sentences is you're going to want to start working in some timed talking practice. And again, the sounds do not matter. You're just talking to yourself. Don't worry about talking to other people. That's not what we want here. You're going to set a timer for 1 minute. That's it, just 1 minute. And what you're going to do is you're going to talk and you're going to try to hold your jaw in the right place. You're going to practice that. It's going to be part of your regular practice. And once that starts to become more normal, you're doing pretty good. You want to extend that to a total of 2 minutes and then 3 minutes. You don't have to go past 3 minutes. When you are practicing setting your jaw, meaning finding that openness, and when you're practicing holding it there, at first you want to use some sort of visual feedback. So that could be a mirror, that can be a camera, whether you record yourself or not. And you're really focused on feeling, but also seeing and looking at what your jaw is doing. Make sure it's not bouncing, right? Because you're probably not going to notice these things or feel these things. You need this visual feedback to correct yourself. But that can become a crutch, meaning something that you'll have to lean on, and then if you don't see your mouth, it might go back to where it was. So when you're first practicing these things, use a mirror or a camera, and then as you progress, as you're practicing, as you're starting to get more familiar with it, you want to start removing the visual. You still want to record yourself on video, but you want to start practicing where, like, okay, maybe you look into the camera and, you know, you say a sentence or whatever it is, you're looking at your jaw, okay? And then you have a second step where you don't look at the camera, but you're still recording, and you try to do the same thing and see what your jaw does, okay? Then as that starts to become pretty good, you want to still record yourself, but don't look at all. Now the test exercise or checkpoint for if you are holding your jaw in place, can you hold your jaw in place without falling into any of the traps while talking for 3 minutes and not looking at your jaw? For the jaw, I want you to be practicing this for at least 15 minutes a day. You can find the main lesson that this video comes from right here, or you can check out some other great content from English Hacks. Thank you guys so much for watching this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.